Hey, welcome everybody back to the Spec Media YouTube channel. This is your boy Dollar, aka Rich Taylor, with my co-host and very good friend YEE ZEE YEE. You guys know him as Aaron Yee. We're bringing you another episode of Buy the Dip. We're going to have the full list. We're going to continue from Friday's House of Stein Hot 10 Buy the Dip segment, and then our own list, and we'll go from there. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing pretty good, Richie. So thank
Yeah.
you for having me on Buy to Dip. I've been meaning to jump on Spec Media for a while. Even on the previous thing, I think I did jump on a couple times. So
Yeah. I think we've done a ton of stuff together, but on my channel, I think we've done one or two things. So
yeah,
I appreciate you joining. I made Aaron a manager, so you're probably going to be seeing him a lot more on my channel. He's a good dude, and he's taught me a lot about content creating, to the point where I could do stuff myself, and then he jumps backstage with me, and then he fixes all this stuff for me. My audio. So that's why we're having the show today, because of Aaron. He is our savior, and he brought us the audio. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and make sure you're subscribed to our channel. Double click that notification bell to all, so you don't miss any of the notifications or content videos. If you're into cards, we do card videos. And most of our live streams are comic book and comic book adaptation media related stuff. So, and leave us a comment. Let us know, what you think. If you disagree, we welcome constructive criticism is highly welcome. And if you share our content, make sure you tag Spec Media with 2 S's, and we'll go ahead and give you or your brand a shout out forthwith. And this show is sponsored by Gemini Comic Supply. If you are flipping comics or trading comics or shipping comics at all in the postal service, FedEx, UPS, make sure you're using Gemini Comic Supply. Use the code popcorn99, all one word, and you will receive 10% off your next purchase. If it doesn't work, hit me up. I'll make sure it works for you. So let's go. All right. So did you guys by the way, spoiler alert. So if you haven't watched the latest episode of Loki, I think what is it, Aaron?
so 3, I think, right?
3? Episode 3. Yes. So episode 3 is officially launched and premiered, or whatever you want to say. It's up on Disney Plus. If you don't want to, we're going to spoil some stuff. So you might want to bounce for about 5 minutes and come back. But there's a couple cool spec plays that you guys probably already know about them, but we just haven't. At least for me, I haven't heard anything from YouTube, anybody talking about it. But Aaron and I backstage on Friday, we were talking about it, and we come up with this spec together, and we thought it was pretty interesting. So we had a new character, or well, not this character, obviously. This is Miss Minutes. You guys know Miss Minutes. She shows up, and she is a big part of this episode. I'll go as far as saying that this is probably one of her biggest episodes, because we really get to see another side to her personality, and we see that she really feels a certain way towards the character that is playing Kang and all his variants. Do you agree, Aaron?
Oh, definitely. Like, will you learn more about her, I guess, origin story a little bit more too, and then how she's built to to I don't know, I guess have an AI character like with free will and
Yeah.
make their own decisions. Like with that, when I heard that, I was like kind of like, oh, that's amazing. And
Yep.
but then it's also amazing to see her in this episode, because what I thought at the end of season 1, they kind of lead you to believe that she's gone, right?
Right.
And then and then we're 3 episodes in now, and then it's like kind of a reveal, like, hey, she's actually like on her own timeline.
Yep, exactly. That's a great point. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I mean, it's been a minute since we've seen Loki, and then the second series drops, and this minutes kind of fades away, because she's not really showing up in comic book continuity in story. She's showing up on
Right.
covers, and so how we all work. It's here now, gone tomorrow. and it was cool to see her and get, like Aaron said, get that backstory, that origin story, and place her back firm into the MCU continuity, and also find out some extra stuff how she feels about Kang and all his variants. But here she is in that episode talking to one of Kang's variants, and that Kang variant is Victor Timely, which I really like a lot. If you don't know, her first appearance, not in story, not in continuity, but on the cover, and that's what we have to go off right now because she's not real. I don't believe she's shown up in story yet, right?
Yeah, she's shown up on a bunch of covers, but still has not made an appearance in the story, which is, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Like at least like
Right,
10 covers on the
right.
low end of that she's appeared on, but still like has, you know, like a random fan on Whatnot's gonna get a story before she does at this point.
Well, exactly. I think it's strange.
Or
I
I
think
should say Dennis. I should say Dennis, right?
what's up, Dennis? We love you, brother. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and I think a few months ago they just did, or a month or two ago they just did, or maybe 3 months ago they did a Miss Minutes like event,
Month.
right?
Yeah,
Where they
yeah.
did a bunch, but they don't have her in any of the 616 or any of the Marvel comic universes. It's all MCU original character, and it's just showing up on covers. So that's fine. So if you want to call this her first appearance, this would
Oh,
be the exception, I guess, until she shows up in continuity. Go
I
ahead.
have an idea of what they might actually end up doing. Do you think they'll end? Because you know, in Star Wars, they're doing all the comic series with where it's like basically just like a comic of of the um of the Disney Plus series. Do you think they'll do a Loki series where she'll appear into a comic?
Interesting, interesting, because they are doing that, right? They're doing that. These original MCU universe characters are showing up on TV, and then all of a sudden, Marvel Comics is making like some kind of series for them,
Right,
right?
like a mini series of the season.
Miniseries, or even a one shot, right? So
Right.
yeah. So that's a great point. Yeah, I could see that totally happen. That's a great point. So this right here was a lot of people don't really understand, or not, I shouldn't say understand, but a lot of people are confused in the sense this cover was actually open to order and was not an incentive. It's done by Ramos, and it's color, it's first print cover. Well,
Was it?
in
But
go
it was
ahead.
a variant cover too, as well,
It was a
right?
variant. It was a variant. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is for
like a B or
Timeless number
C.
one. Yeah, Timeless number one shot. And I believe this was like cover B or C or what have you. But if you were on it on FOC, which a lot of us were, you could order as many as you wanted for a discount and off the cover price. And at one point, this book was almost $100, and now it's cruising around, I think, like between 30 to $50. And I think we see some peaks when she shows up around like 40, $50. But still not a lot of sales. I'm actually a little bit surprised, but not a lot of people have money right now, so I understand. A couple other channels talk about MCU spec burnout, stuff like that. That is a possibility. But yeah, so let's move on, and who is this? It's Miss Minutes, right, Aaron?
Yep. And
So why is she black and white?
so I forget her name, but she had mentioned that she was standing out too much within the timeline that they were in, and so she's like, oh, is this better? And then flips herself to black and white. And then as soon as like I thought I didn't message it to anyone, but like as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, there goes up the price of 1 in 50's second prints. So,
And here we are right here. So there would be her first appearance in that costume. This is the same issue, but this is the reprint, the second print, 1 in 50 incentive for the black and white version of Miss Minutes. So how many times have you guys heard me say, God, these cash grabs, these late print ratios, and then they just remove the color. It's so lazy. Well, this might be the exception to this because she actually changes costume and her personality actually kind of
it
like
just
changes,
elevates.
right?
Yeah. Well,
Elevates.
yeah. I
Oh,
mean, you find out how manipulative she is
right.
to like to
Controlling.
beings.
Yep.
Yeah, just to get closer to he who remains.
Yeah, He Who Remains, aka Kang,
Kang.
aka Victor Timely, which we're going to talk about in a second. So, hey, what's up, Spider Guy Murph? Hello, everybody. Thank you, guys. Patrick, we love you. We'll be done in a second with this, but we're going to talk about this a little more. So we went ahead and we're going ahead and pegging the timeless #1, second print, 1 in 50 sketch Ramos, and this is connected to this version of Miss Minutes. So, and it's actually really affordable still too. So here is Kang in the MCU. This is the Earth 1999 version of Kang the Conqueror on the right. Here is your 616 Marvel Comics Kang the Conqueror. Here is He Who Remains, as Aaron says. He is the creator and controller of TVA, and in season 1, as you guys know, was killed by Lady Loki, or what's her name in the MCU?
Sylvie.
Sylvie, yeah. And that's what broke all the branches in the MCU's timelines to go crazy, because he was murdered, because supposedly he kept all the timelines in their universe and all other universes at bay. So once he died, everything went to hell in a handbasket. Well, here is the next variant that is in Loki season 2, episode 3. This is Victor Timely, guys. Victor Timely is a very intelligent, sharp, handsome salesman slash scientist of sort. I would even go as far as say a trickster. He's got multiple grifter, parlor tricks, you name it, scamming people out of money. But he's smart, very intelligent. And this is him. He's got spiked hair, very cool dude, very funny. Well, a lot of people were jumping on this book after he showed up. We all know about this book. We've been connecting Nathaniel Richards. This is his first full appearance in FF 273 ever since they announced Kang. Okay, but how come this book's not moving? This is Avengers Annual 21. This is your first appearance of Kang as Victor Timely. Okay, now there are hundreds of copies of hundreds, I should say, tens of thousands of copies out there, but hundreds of listings on the secondary market of the direct edition. Now, here is the newsstand, which there's not a lot of copies of high grade. Why is this book, in your opinion, Aaron, not moving? And he showed up on the MCU. Do you think people are not aware? Or
dude, I just realized it. I looked at the title. It's an annual, man. People hate annuals.
It's because of the covers, I think.
Well, that has something to do with it too, as well, right? Like, but we can think of Gambit's first appearance of it, X-Men Annual 14. Like, this is annual Citizen Kang Avengers. I mean, and then not only that, like, I feel like a lot of people, like, even if you're a reader, will skip over an annual book.
Right,
So I figured that, like, people just don't know about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I wonder if annuals are printed more than normal, series.
I figured they were printed less than the normal series.
I mean, there's a ton of those Avenger Annual 10 Rogue books out there, but I mean that is. But at least her face is on the cover in the corner. It's a shitty cover appearance, but at least her face is there, and But yeah, so this is your first appearance of Victor Timely, Kang as Victor Timely, and he shows up in Loki. And I thought it was going to be a one-off, but as I was watching the character, I really enjoyed it. I could tell a lot went into it, and he actually is moving on, so he's not a one and done. So this book is like $5, okay, or less. So keep your eye on this book. If you don't own any, I might want to grab one, even the direct, and just see what happens. Maybe grab a 9.8, because I think those were like $75, $80, something like that, something stupidly cheap. And see what this Victor Timely character does in the MCU, and let's see if this book moves along.
No.
So. All right, guys, it's time for the full list. We're going to go over Ben's Buy the Dip segment, sponsored by Spec Media, last Friday. And we're going to go over his comments. And then we're going to go over me and Aaron's list of the other 5. So we'll have 10 books total. So let's go. So we have Edge of Spider-Verse #2. This is the first print cover A. And I wonder why this. I thought this is interesting that Ben put this on the list. I mean, it's obviously down in value, but Key Collector had it on his trending 20 this
Oh,
week.
that's kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, from what Ben wrote was that it's the lowest in 3 years. For a couple of sales that happened. One thing that I thought was super funny was that the CBCS copy, a 9.8 copy sold for $710, and then the CGC sold for at a 9.8 sold for 630. I mean,
So go
yeah.
ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say it's probably not a good time to auction off books right now, right?
No.
Like I would definitely like set a price. Like if I recently listed a few things on eBay, and instead of auctioning it, like I'm not in no rush to sell it. I mean, I'd like to sell it, but sell some books. So I just set a price like of what market average is right now, like not the lowest on eBay, like just something I'm comfortable at moving it at.
Right, and that's a good point. I mean, I think buy it now is with Ben or BO. Buy it now with best offers probably the way to go. Yeah, I wouldn't expect to sell right away
or set market prices right now either.
Yeah, right, exactly, like Aaron said. But if you're auctioning books, even if you're doing a 10-day and you're ending on, the evening, 6 p.m. or Pacific or 4 p.m. Pacific on Sundays on a 10-day, or even if it's, Monday, you're even pulling it into Monday for people who are at work, mess around their computer. I wouldn't expect to even get close to what the normal FMV of what you're expecting on. But shout out to Ferdy. He went ahead and he listed one of my favorite books, which is my favorite characters, which is Taijuki or Taiguki, I believe is how you say his name. Taskmaster 3, 1 in 25 by Shane Davis. And he had a CGC 9.6, and I believe there was like a day or less left in the book, maybe a half a day, and it was only at like 18 to 80 bucks. I don't remember what it was, if it was either 18 bucks or 80 bucks, and he ended up getting like 227 plus shipping, so good for him. But I even asked him, I was like, hey, I think I either DM'd him or replied, and I was like, why are you selling this book right now? Meaning in auction, not in bin or BO, but as an auction. And he liked it. He didn't reply. So usually me knowing Ferdy, what that means is that, he probably needs a little bit of side cash. And I understand how that works, when you need a little bit of cash. But I mean, he knows as well as we do, it's not a good time to do auctions right now. But he got a nice little chunk, 227 plus shipping and all that. And he was worried, and I'm happy he got that. But I could see that book doing a lot better. But yeah, like Aaron said, it's a tough time right now. It's a tough time.
Oh man, that's racist, dude.
But all right. Next book is The Crow, #1. The first issue. This is the first print. And this is not the first appearance of The Crow, is it, Aaron?
No, it's not. That's Excalibur Presents. I forget what it's like. What, issue 1?
Issue 1.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So, but this issue of The Crow, #1, it last sold for a CGC 9.8 sold for $7,600. It had hit a high of $14,400 last year. But pre-pandemic, it was $3,200. And then so Stein posed the question, where's the floor on this book? You're muted.
Interesting. I don't know a lot about The Crow. I know about this book. Obviously, there's multiple prints, and I haven't really looked at prices. So when we were talking about this book, I was a little bit dumbfounded. I was more listening than talking.
Yeah.
But Aaron seemed to know a little bit about this one. Ben knows a lot about this book. The chat was going crazy about this book. Well, the chat was going crazy on Friday about this book. Remember?
Yeah, right. I mean, The Crow definitely has like its cult following, and then
I remember you said that.
Yeah. Like I would almost like, I wouldn't say it's as big as as Spawn, but I would assume that it leans towards that crowd of fans of comics and stuff like that, like the dark, gritty. And then like what I mean, in the '90s there was Brandon Lee's last role, so I'm sure that has a lot to play into it too as well, like the nostalgia factor of that. So
Absolutely.
and then with the movie of the Crow like showing up soon, like the movie's done, right?
That's the female version, right? Of the
Right,
Crow.
the female
Right.
version, like but I think they still have some like re-edits, and then they just recently got picked up by a new production company. So
Mm.
so I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. And like once the so the writer strike's being over, I wonder if they're doing the rewrites right now where they want to
But that.
change up.
Oh yeah, that's a good
Just,
point. Yeah, because they have a
yeah,
lot of time right now because the actors are on strike, right?
right. So, but I feel like they don't have to reshoot anything. I think it's just like
Okay.
re-edits of stuff. But yeah,
Yeah. I think the cover is the winner on this one versus the first appearance.
oh
I
yeah,
mean,
because the first appearance, like the Crow's only on the back cover.
yeah. Yeah, we love that character too, Ferdy. All right, let's move on. Spawn #1. This is any edition, but mainly the direct edition. Ben put this on the list on Friday. And what did he have to say about this one?
Let's see. He spoke about newsstands being at a 9.8, selling for a CGC 9.8 sold for 550. Can you guess what it peaked at last year, or do you
No,
remember? It
no.
peaked at $1,750 for newsstand 9.8.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow. And what's it selling for now?
550.
Wow,
So
550.
like a third of the less than a third of the price, right?
Right, right. So
Yeah.
I mean, you guys probably all know this, but how many? I mean, I don't really see it much anymore. I haven't really looked, but I nothing sticks out. But I remember in 2017, 18, and 19 when a newsstand copy, raw or graded, of this book was listed on the secondary market, especially on eBay. In the listings, it would always, not always, but I'd say probably 1 out of 3 listings would say 1 in 100. Right, 1 in
Right.
100. Is that a pretty accurate ratio in your opinion for the newsstand during this time during that for this book?
So what? Spawn 1, that was about 91.
1993? Was it
Was it
93 or
93?
was it? Yeah, I think it
It's
was 92 or 93, but yeah.
yeah, somewhere in there. And then like early 90s. So
Mhm.
you can assume that there's a million printed at the base, right?
Right. Right.
What was it? Is that about a 70-30 split at that point in time? The
So
newsstands versus directs.
I thought it was closer to like 10 to 12% was the estimations.
Okay.
So if but I could be wrong. If it was 30%, then a 1 in 100 would not be correct. It would be more
Okay. I guess,
looking
yeah. I
at
mean,
it.
because I guess by '90s there's a lot more comic shops too.
We'd be looking at a 1 in 30 in that sense. But
Yeah. So I
yeah.
guess a 1 in 100, about 10%. I mean, that's.
Mm,
I mean, it's all guessing at this point, though, right? But I mean, from what
right.
with how many show up on the market, but I guess it was just more impressive to hear of how steady this book always sells.
Right. It's like almost every comic collector or even non-comic collector feel it's almost like a default thinking. I got to have a Spawn 1 in my collection. And then once you get seasoned, once you get experience, you let
You want
go of
that?
Spawn 1s. You want the newsstand, right?
No way. You want that black and white?
Oh, yeah, that's the whole that's experience plus you got money.
Right. That's that season slash what pro. level
season
almost.
/ pro / deep ass pockets or
Ghost Finders,
slash
whatever.
Ghost Finders. Like, shout out to Mercenaut. Make sure you guys are subscribed to YouTube, Mercenaut's YouTube channel. He has awesome YouTube channel. If you don't know who Mercenaut is, he's on Tales from the Flip Side. Make sure you're subbed up to Tales from the Flip Side. That's where we come from. That's our origin. But if you have never seen Mercenaut, the guy just digs nonstop and he finds these crazy ghost books, and that would probably be 1 or 2 times he's found that book. I wouldn't be surprised. Hey, what's up, Jesse? Jesse's in the chat. JLS Comics. What's up, everyone? Tony Blue Green Artifacts. He says, I think different books had different ratios depending on what retail places like drugstores were ordering. Interesting. Yeah, spare racks.
Yeah.
Hey, what up, Righteous Flipper? He says, I just don't have time to post on IG, and the idea of showing mine if you show me yours. I like that. Sounds a little creepy. And well, okay, I don't like that. No, I'm kidding. And like, even in comic collecting, we seem to be compensating for something. Oh, okay. So you're meaning that if you have a small penis, then you're showing like an FF4 98 or something like that. Yeah, I get you. Hey, what's up, Wilbert? Wilbert says, dang, YouTube, where was my show notification of this live? Someone is getting a sternly wounded email. Okay, Wilbert, make sure that notification bell is double clicked. But if it's still not giving you notifications, if you could DM me or Aaron on IG, we'd appreciate it. We'll try to figure it out. Comics Embrace, what's up, man? He says Mercenaut is the box diving king. Absolutely. And a very good content creator, content contributor as well. I love watching his stuff. He's a good dude. Tony Blue Green says retail stores weren't ordering as many non-famous books. Lots of Spider-Man, less the Max. Yeah. Good point. All right, let's move on to the next book that Ben had on Buy the Dip on Friday. This is X Factor number 5. This is your first appearance of Apocalypse in cameo. Okay, I know how a lot of people guys feel about that. So he, in my opinion, he just went with the first appearance. This book's old school. I think the book is really 6 because he's on the cover.
You gotta have both, in my opinion. Gotta have
both. Or you gotta have both. But why was this one on the list, Aaron?
So an X Factor 5 CBCS 9.8 sold for $22. Like not even the cost of grading. This has been the lowest since 2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in your opinion, do you think 5? Oh, so before I ask you this question. So me and Aaron are in agreement that 5 and 6, you got to have them both, right? And so I'm not 6 is typically a little bit higher, but I haven't seen the prices of 6. But in your opinion, do you think it's a good time to buy 5 and 6, or 5 or 6? Do you see legs on this character?
It depends on the direction they take with X-Men, right? Like, are they going to bring back an Apocalypse? Are they going to, is Feige going to say what he's said before, that he's not going to do anything that MCU or Fox has already done? Like, I don't know those answers. I mean, I guess it's somewhat possible that, they bring in some sort of iteration of Apocalypse into the MCU, but I mean, I wouldn't see that being done until like late, like a year after X-Men's already been around, right?
So we're talking from an adaptation or other media speculation point of view. So anything other than comics. But when it comes to comics, you have Hickman, right? Hickman rebooted the character, and the character is phenomenal now. I love the character now. I love the way he looks. He's very intimidating. And I am dying for Kevin Feige to hook up with Hickman and they start writing all these mutant stories together. And we do see those versions of those characters. Not all of them, but most of them. Rasputin, freaking Apocalypse, so on and so forth. But I mean, I believe that Apocalypse is still showing up in the X-Men comics, right now.
Right, because didn't Hickman relaunch him in House and Powers?
Yes,
I want to say,
yes.
yeah,
House and Powers. That's where he rebooted him, retconned him, or whatever you want to call it.
right.
And then he showed up in the X-Men run during the pandemic. He was a big part of that. A lot of drama when it came to that.
Well, I mean, I agree with Tony. I would like to see a Mr. Sinister more than an Apocalypse again.
Yeah, so for our listeners, some Tony Blue Green articles on IG. AOA, where you at, brother? I need you here. My moderator. I got some moderators in the chat, but and Tony, I got to make you a moderator, so I'll make sure that's done after the show. But he says some copper plus uncanny keys are stupid low right now, meaning on the dip. Archangel, Mr. Sinister, Apocalypse, Jubilee, first appearance characters or key issues relating to those characters. He's got a good point. Good point. Aaron agrees as well. So, all right, let's move on. And the last book on Ben's list, By the Dip segment, every Friday night on the House of Stein before the Almost 10, sponsored by Beyond Wednesdays and the House of Stein Hot 10, the original Hot 10 show. Killmonger, number 2. This is the 1 in 25. Jeff DeCall. Shout out to our boy, Mighty Mel V. We actually saw him live. We were on Beyond Wednesday's Modern Comic Mayhem. And we looked in on Whatnot when Whatnot was really popping, at least in our circle, in our inner circle. And Mel was having his Saturday show, and we saw this book sell for, what was it, 900 and change?
$800 raw.
800 raw.
Yeah.
So what's going on with this book right now, Aaron?
All right. So Killmonger number 2, 1 in 25, recently sold for a CGC 9.8, sold for $180.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I traded one of my copies around that time, and actually to Tony, and then I remember, what was it? I think maybe 6 months to 8 months later, I bought in a copy again on the dip. Like, I probably paid like $350, $250, somewhere in there for a 9.8 copy, and I was just like, I'm like, oh sweet, I get to have the call book back. And then like seeing it drop down to 180, I was like, kind of like, oh man, that's really taking a dive.
You're like, I could have got a mega box or something like that. I'm good. Yeah. Wilbert, he commented, Feige will have to walk back his words because he and the MCU are no longer on that ivory tower. If it will make money, Disney will remake / redo anything from Fox. Good point. Tony says, I was mentioning him as a moderator. The wrench just goes to my head. I'd be drunk with power. Yeah. And Tony gets mad at me sometimes. So I don't want to show up to my channel and be missing all my content. No, I'm kidding. No, me and Tony, we're boys. Yeah, I got you, Tony. I'm going to give you that wrench right after the show. I appreciate you. And if you guys are not aware, Tony is under Blue Green Artifacts. You can find him on IG under Blue Green Artifacts. He also has a YouTube channel. He does pickups. I don't know if he's been doing them lately because I've been busy at work and stuff, but I'm not working right now, so I'll have to check that out. But make sure you give him a sub up. Let's see here. When it comes to this book, it says right here, Lord of Brooklyn, book for life. We just call him Lord of Brooklyn. He's one of our dudes. He's talking to Righteous Flipper in the chat. And he says, I have been going for Mr. Monster. The A1 and Penthouse books are expensive. I have no idea what that means, but they do. So hit him up. Righteous Flipper says, I am also picking up any anime and manga, Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, Robotech, and many more. Smart play. And then I think he's agreeing with Aaron, or he's agreeing with somebody in the chat. Mrs. Monsters sound like a movie to be made. I like how you think, Lord of Brooklyn. Yeah, we like how Lord of Brooklyn thinks too. All right. Now it's time for Spec Media's By the Dip list and what we think, or at least I think on a lot of them. Aaron agrees on some, Aaron disagrees on a few. But what I think is down right now, well, I mean, it's not what I think, it's just a fact. And what I think are good buys, or could be good buys. So
here's before we move on, make sure you're subbing up to see Richie and I both on the House of Stein for the Hot 10, the OG Hot 10, I guess we should be calling it now. So you can catch our segment on Buy the Dip on there as well. So
Perfect.
oh,
All right. Let's go in here and make sure you guys are like this live stream. We appreciate it. Comment, let us know what you think. I really care. I try to answer every single comment as fast as I can. I'd love to chop it up with you guys. Aaron is now a manager and a part of the channel. He's always been a part of the channel. He's my family. So, but he'll probably be answering as well. So make sure you do that. And if you share, make sure you tag Buy the Dip Spec Media or just Spec Media with 2 S's, and we'll give you or your channel or your brand a shout out on one of our mini shows across House of Stein, my channel, Brian's channel, Beyond Wednesdays. So, all right, number 5. We have Avengers number 48. I would go as far as say this is an iconic book, iconic cover. Would you?
Yeah, I could see it being iconic. So
what's the sign? What's the sign say? The sign says iconic. The sign says iconic. This is Avengers number 48 from Volume 1. This is a Silver Age 12-cent book. This is your first appearance of Dane Whitman as the third Black Knight. Okay. Dane Whitman is first appearance was actually in the issue before, number 47. That one is down drastically as well, but it really hasn't hit. In my opinion, even during pandemic, I don't think it's actually hit its ceiling. I think that Kit Harington, who's playing the Black Knight, I think they have plans for him. Now, this writer's strike really put a wrench into a lot of stuff, for lack of a better term. So things could change, right, Aaron? But yeah. I think Kit Harington is very popular. He's very likable on screen, and he plays a very good Dane Whitman. I cannot wait to see him in the classic, iconic Black Knight helmet and suit with the sword, and I just can't wait. But
you think?
Go ahead.
Do you think? Okay, so every time I heard anyone talking about Eternals, most of the people that really liked it were like deep into the lore, deep into reading. And then I would say most casual people didn't care. So do you think that's why it didn't hit its peak? Like, because it was coming out, the movie came out during pandemic, right?
Oh, you're talking about Eternals, right?
Eternals, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. You make a lot of sense there. But I also think that this cover is so classic / iconic that a lot of people that don't do with us and our viewers and in the live chat do when it comes to comics as much research we do. I don't think they knew about 47 or maybe just didn't even care about it. I've actually read 47 and 48, which is a very long read. It's almost like reading a little mini novel. There's so many damn word bubbles, of course, Silver Age. But yeah, I mean, it's a good read, and it's a classic yellow cover. I love it. I think both books go hand in hand, but this one's down. These are raw prices, guys. So let's go over them together. So we're looking at here between September, the middle of September of 2021. So pandemic, like prime peak pandemic prices through the end of last summer, right after the week after Labor Day, 9/11, a 7.5. I didn't list 9.0 to 9.4 or 9.6 to 9.10. I don't do that for raw books. Anybody who lists for Silver Age raw books, anybody who lists a book 9.6 to 10.0, that's raw, in my opinion, is either inexperienced or they're
trying to get that extra bump in cash.
Trying to get that extra bump, or they're just not. They just don't know. But so I don't even mess around with those prices. So I went with the 7.0 to 8.5 price range. And by the way, we use cover price. All this data comes from cover price. And going back into it, so we had a peak of this book in the top prime of the pandemic prices. Raw 7.0 listed sold for $1,500, $1.5 thousand, and the seller listed at 7.0. And this was in the middle of September of 2021. And then a year later, approximately a year later, give or take a few days, very close condition wise, 7.5 raw sold for $516. So that's down from 1,500, but that's still a lot of money. Now, here is the most recent prices we were talking about from around Halloween of last year all the way until about 2 weeks ago. Look at the rapid decline. Okay, let's just say it's fair to say this time last year, so the end of the pandemic, around $300, and it's rapidly declined. But then you have a higher grade one for 384, which in my opinion is pretty accurate because that's the highest grade one, not an outlier. But then you go down to the 7.0. Now compare that right now, that prime pandemic number of 918.21, 7.0, $1,500 versus now, which is 2 weeks ago on 10/6/2023 of $179.10.
Wow. That's
That
totally the what have you done for me lately? Mighty Mel V wave.
right? So, in my opinion, it's a good time to pounce on this book. And I know most of you want a higher grade, but I think that a 7.0 to 8.5 raw book, and most of us know how to grade books. I think that's a good, solid, higher mid grade condition to jump on. And you hit up our boy Red Hood; he'll clean and press it for you, and hopefully get you a 9 hour higher. So, all right, let's move on. Number 4. Venom, number 3. This is cover A, first print with Miles on the front. This is your first appearance of Noel in full. Okay. This book is going peaks and valleys with this book, like every other book, but this one's particular. But let's go ahead and look at the price range. This is raw, not graded. These are raw prices. So April of 2022, we're still technically in the pandemic then, but we're seeing the last of it. We're looking at about $200 raw. We see a high of $240.50 and around Memorial Day weekend of last year, and slightly goes down to about what you'd expect to pay for this last year, between 150 and 175, with a 167.03 sale of August of 2022 towards the end of the pandemic. Now we're looking at, like I said, these are raw prices. We had a sale in August 20th of $79 for a mint condition copy. Then it started bumping up to 115, all the way up to an outlier, in my opinion, of 150. Maybe it was even a FOMO buy, who knows? But and now it's down. 2 sales this month, at the beginning of this month and last week, $91 and $95. What do you think, Aaron?
So, because correct me if I'm wrong, but did that Venom storyline that killed Noel, did that end like pretty much when pandemic ended?
That was King of Black. King of
Black, yeah. Was because didn't that storyline pretty much finish up like around that $167 price tag? Was it around that time? Okay.
Yeah.
And then what is it recently? Isn't Noel supposed to come back in the storyline or something like that? So do you think that's why there's, I guess, a bit of an uptick again and then kind of stabilizing?
Well, I don't know. I not to interrupt you, but to answer your question and allude on what you're saying, I believe the King in Black issue where Noel is killed by Captain Universe, or
is it Century?
Or was it Century?
I can't remember now.
But I'm pretty sure Noel killed Century. Remember, he ripped him in half.
Oh, okay,
yeah. So I think it was Captain Universe, and I think Captain Universe first appears in the Micronauts book. I think it's like number 8 or something like that, just off the top of my head. But anyways, that was actually in 2021, and these prices are in 2022, a year later.
Oh wow!
So yeah.
Well, okay, yeah, I forget. 2021 had like a ridiculous price, and then I was actually kind of shocked to see the prices for 2022 that was that much for a raw copy. I need to go find mine because I definitely did not pay that much for it.
Well, shout out to my boy, my man, John. I shouldn't say boy because he's a man. He's a man like all of us. I got to stop saying boy. He's a man. He's a man. My man, John, Comics with Kids. He's got a great YouTube channel. He's also a neighbor of mine. He lives in Orange County and Mission Viejo or somewhere in that area.
Nice.
We actually hung out in person. He's a great dude. He's got a great family. He's got a beautiful channel. He says, I sold my 9.8 at the peak, which was $400, which is true. That was like during the pandemic, because I sold my 9.8 for like $405 on Mercari, and that was in April of 2020. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Cameron D, welcome. He says it was Venom fused with Captain Universe that killed Null. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Sweet.
Righteous Flipper goes on and says, I preach on the streets of little cons, comic cons, flea markets, garage sales, Goodwills, eBay, Mercari, estate sales, card shows, and everywhere else comics are found. Thank you, Righteous. All right. Yeah, I think this is a good buy. I can see this book kind of getting to $80, $75, $80, but why wait in a sense, unless you can dig it out of a long box, because anything could happen. Noel shows up, like you were saying. He's supposed to show up as a key character in upcoming comic series or whatever, or maybe he showed up recently, and next thing you know, we go back to 2022 prices. And I don't want you guys to miss that $100 bump, but in my opinion, I think $91, $95 is a decent buy for this book. But personally, I wouldn't pay $95 for a raw copy of this book. I would probably wait, but it's not the worst thing. I would not detriment your character or your buying decisions if you did. So that's just my opinion. Number 3.
Do we have some different opinions on this book?
All right, so we have Spider-Man number 7, the Dan Slott 2022-23 series. I think it's 2023 series. This is your spoiler variant. But we're talking about CGC 9.8, not Raws. And there's certain reasons why we wanted to talk about the 9.8s. And Aaron's going to bring it up. Do you still have those census numbers pulled up?
I do.
Let's go ahead and pull those up. But let's go. Let me talk about this book first. So this is Spider-Man number 7. This is the Ramos spoiler. This book was open to order. This is a CGC 9.8 Blue Universal label. This is your first appearance and first cover appearance of Spider-Boy from the 616, quote unquote. And this book was pre-pumped by the creator of the story, Dan Slott, pre-FOC, which we all know is a no-no from a speculator's point of view. And it was pre-pumped on Twitter, on Instagram, and on multiple social media sites. And then it was repumped or reposted, retweeted by other creators pre-FOC. And then after FOC, it continued to do that. So what's going on here with the census numbers before we get into the actual sale numbers?
All right. So for the Ramos variant, I'm looking at the CGC census right now. There's 4,364 CGC 9.8 blue labels total grade, and then a total amount for just blue labels is 4,792. There's 406 signature series in a 9.8, and then there's a total of 5,283 graded already for this book.
Wow. And it's been out 6 months.
What was
6 months, right?
June of 2023 is the issue.
Well, that's the published. That's the published.
It's a publisher.
Shelved up. Yes, I think it was released in April. So on your left is your red. This is from Cover Price. Shout out to Matt DeVoe and the boys over there. Long Short, International Comics, Lefteros, everybody who is associated and writes on Cover Price. Very good people. They know their stuff, but this data comes from Cover Price, and it's cover with no E, covrprice.com. You can get I think you can get like a week subscription if you sign up for free. But anyways, so these are CGC 9.8 prices on the left. These are obviously first to market, right? So we're looking at first to market prices, the 14th. I'm guessing that these were probably pre-sold 9.8 by some of those retailers on eBay. Right. And we're looking at so we're looking at 159 was the start, and we're looking at a high sale of 199. This is on the same day, April April of this year, April 14th to be exact, all the way through 177, 150. So we'll just say it's pretty safe to say about 165, $160 FMV during that time. Now you have a low sale on, look at all these sales right here over the last 2 weeks. Okay. And there was more on there. I could have, I just didn't have enough room on the fucking screen. But yeah, I mean, $65 on September 30th. October 1st, $87. Okay, you have a high of $116. They're just still down like 35%, which this person probably should have paid more attention. But I'm not going to fault you. But anyways, but let's say an average of about, would you say it's fair to say about average of about $90 it's going for right now?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about the character?
Personally, I don't care, but I'm kind of glad that it's not just a one-off character like Wilbert's bringing up Tosin, like where they just killed off, introduced the character, had a bunch of hype on him, and then, they didn't do anything. They actually, made a mini series for Spider-Boy. But what scares me about investing into this book is how many are graded, right? I mean, I really doubt that, especially with like I wouldn't for anything modern now, since the split of Diamond to Random House and Lunar distributions. Like, I have a hard time swallowing the numbers that Comic Con will come up with now,
Right.
just because like Random House hasn't really disclosed that information. But I mean, like, I wouldn't expect it to be like that much different than like maybe 2021 numbers in 2020 before all that happened, or I guess like from 2018 on, whenever that split actually did happen. I personally am not gonna buy. I mean, like, the price is attractive at around like $90 to $100, right? But I don't think I would personally buy in to this book, just because like unless like Spider-Boy makes some weird like cameo appearance at the end of Into the Spider-Verse or something like that to show that like, oh, we're gonna do something with this character, I really don't care, I guess.
Well, what do we always say? We always say read the tea leaves, right? With the
Mm-hmm.
comics and the adaptation stuff. So at the beginning, I was under the impression that this would be maybe a 1 to 2, 3 off, right? And then we wouldn't hear about him again, kind of like Taijuki or Taiguki or whatever. But this character's all over the comics now, right?
Right. I mean, his solo series is getting multiple printings and all that.
Yeah, so I mean, that is a good sign that they might have a little bit of backing, or they might be hedging this character for other media or adaptation into the Spider-Verse, across the Spider-Verse, beyond the Spider-Verse, whatever you want to call it, maybe possibly even live action, who knows. But I think it's a really cool looking character. I just don't like the fact the creators pre-pumped it pre-FOC, and then they continued on all the way up until the week of release. It makes me cringe. Okay. I understand they need to make money, though. They need to make money. These guys are not making tens of hundreds of millions of dollars. And they create this stuff. They spend a lot of hard work on this, and they want to. I get that business part. I get it. But from a speculator and investment point of view, it's just something I don't want to dive into, because I knew from the beginning there would be tons of copies. And like you guys probably knew as well, there'd be tons of copies out there, raw and or graded 9.8, and the proof is in the pudding. How many did you say there are on the 9.8 census right now?
4,364.
And it's only been 6 months.
Right. And I mean, but also like, I mean, I know like the total number graded shouldn't really matter or whatever, but just the proportionate of how many 9.8s there are versus other grades, like it's not like other books that are key books that have a ton of numbers, or like 20,000 graded or whatever.
I agree. Good point. Wilbert is commenting, and he says, Marvel drives me nuts. Spider-Boy has heat, and they drag their feet to the point that no one cares anymore. At least it's better than Tosin. Wow, that's a good point. The Tosin. I should have mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tosin, which was hot, and Marvel did 0 to capitalize on it. 0 zilch. Yeah, they pulled a DC Comics, right? They totally did pull a DC
Right?
Comics on Tosin like they did with Robin King, you know.
Let's put him in jail.
Right. Terrible. Righteous Flipper, he's talking to somebody in the chat. He's responding to Wilbur's comment. He says, Wilbur is right, and this is an extension of the Spider family, just like the Batman family. Good point. Dwayne Scott, welcome. Thank you. Mosaic is waiting for him in the spec void. Yeah. Let's see here. Comics Embrace says, I think they are going all in on Spider Boy. I dropped 65.70 all day on 9.8. Very good comment. Okay, we appreciate that. And then he said 989. Oh yeah, gotcha. We know what you're saying. And Dwayne Scott goes on and says that one little spike tick kept you from greatness. Yep, maybe.
That only happened to 335 people.
Yeah,
that got 9.6s. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, what a big gap difference. There's 4,000 more 9.8s than there are 9.6s. Like, yeah. I think like people literally ordered like a stack of those and just send them in. Like,
and I wonder how many of those 9.4s and 9.6s are actually 9.8s. They just weren't even pressed. Like you said, like you were just about to say, they didn't even freaking get them pressed. They just took a stack and sent them in. Right.
Yeah.
So it's probably a lot more. I would say it's pretty safe to say there's at least 100K of these out there. What do you think?
I wouldn't disagree with that number. Maybe slightly less. Like
maybe
I don't know
slightly less.
Yeah,
like
but still,
Ultimate Fallout 4 numbers, maybe
like
75K.
Like within that range, right? The 75 to 100K.
Yeah.
Like, because this was still this was a new Spider-Man title, just to be different from the Amazing Spider-Man title. So,
and each issue had some kind of first new appearance of a new Spider-Man, or every other issue, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. Number 2. This is Avengers number 232, volume 1, direct newsstand, doesn't matter. As long as it's not Mark Jewelers or Canadian, but this is your first appearance of Eros as Star Fox. So he actually is Star Fox on the cover and in the guts of this book. I believe Eros' first appearance is, what were we talking about before? Captain Marvel, like 24, 25, 26, something like that, right? Of the original series. So this character is played by Harry Styles in the MCU in the 1999-99 continuity, and showed up at the end of the Eternals. He hangs out in the comics and in the MCU, according to reports in the MCU. What's the character's name? Dupe, right?
Dupe. Oh yeah.
So this book, it was hot for a couple months, and this book raw was selling 9.0 to 9.4. I used for the Copper Age newspaper interior page version. You could say not. I mean, it's still a modern book from CGC standards, but it's Copper Age, so I used 9.0 to 9.4 since it's fairly newer. But $56.99. We're looking on Christmas Day of 2021 during prime prices during the pandemic, and then the announcements were right around there because it was right around January that Harry Styles, or maybe Eternals came out during that time. I can't remember, but I remember talking to Brian McClay about it and stuff like that. But $79.99 in January of 2022, all the way up. There was a low sale in the end of January of last year of about $40, and then you have right before Valentine's Day of last year, $73. Now we're looking at this book. We had a sale in February, same high grade near mint copy of $7.86. You have a $14.95 copy sold. Looks like it was probably a buy it now. A lot of these are buy it now. $17.86 isn't a buy it now. That's probably an auction. But most of these, the 1150 is probably an auction as well. But 9.0 to 9.4, so near mint minus near mint copies are selling for an average of about $12 to $15. What do you think? Do you think that's a good buy, Aaron? And do you like this character long term?
$12 to $15. I would definitely be looking at back issues for it again. Like I think I even talked to a couple of people digging at cons that found them in dollar boxes, like within this range of grade, like probably on the low end, I would say 8.0 to 9.0.
Nice.
But they, but this was at the same time, like when it was selling for like 50 to 80 bucks. So they definitely like flipped it at that point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Aaron. I think that's also a great price. I think this is a great time to move on this book. I probably wouldn't wait any longer if you are interested in this character long term from an investment or speculation point of view. I think it's a good time to start searching online or hit. Well, I wouldn't say hit your shop. Typically, I would, but usually wall books are always overpriced. But if you have a shop that the guy's willing to wheel and deal, or if there's that one shop where every book is not priced and they go to eBay, right now would be a good time to go
Yeah.
and pick this book up. 786 low in February, and recently 11.99. Probably a buy it now bin plus shipping. Probably get this
Well,
book for 12 to 15 bucks at a shop, and online you probably get it for 12 bucks for a near mint copy. Go ahead.
have you ever been to a shop where it's like they have it like at an all-time high price sell, like
Oh yeah,
on the
that's what I
wall
was saying.
and
Exactly,
then
exactly.
and it's like kind of like, hey, the last one just sold for like 12 bucks, right? Do you think they would work with you in that price? I mean,
I
because
think
like
I think they would work with you. Just to
it,
add to that, I think they would, to answer that, they would work with you to meet in the middle, right? But I
like
don't think they
so,
would bring it all the way down.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't ask for like, but I
Right,
mean,
right.
like you could also assume that the shop has had that book since it's in all these iterations, like from a back issue, to a dollar book, all the way to the high wall book to kind of like now, right?
Right. I agree. Ferdy says I did this book. I think he meant to said it. I
I dig.
dig. Yes. What's up, Hated? He's talking. I think he's talking about Spider Boy. I graded 50 plus copies. Didn't press any, so the handful were 9.6. I got are probably 9.8 with the press. Yeah. See, there you go. Thank you for that. It's great info. Mojo Quid, what up, man?
What's
Says,
going
hell
on?
yeah, you're still alive. What's up, peeps? What up, man? Good to see you. Yeah, I think this is a good time to move on this character. Harry Styles is so popular. He's just getting it into I mean, he's been in the movie business now for a few years, but he's starting to make movies more consistently. Now the writer strike's over. We're going to see more content from a film and series point of view. And I see this character on the screen doing well. And I just like this character in the book. He's had controversy surrounding around him when it comes to She-Hulk. And I'm interested to see how they translate that to, if they do translate that part of his story or his origin backstory to the silver screen. So I think it's a good time to buy this book. Let's move on to number one, Aaron. Number one, buy the dip book that me and Aaron both agree is a good buy and is on the dip. This is Department of Truth number 4. This is the 1 in 25 Jeff Lemire incentive with his iteration of Star-Faced Man on the cover, sketched on a like a, what are those things called with the whole that we used to use in middle school and high school?
Oh,
Notebook,
notepads,
notepads.
notebooks, yeah, notebooks, yeah. Like some
I
kid
think
like
it's
drawing in school, like just sketching something.
I think it's amazing cover for Jeff. For Jeff, I mean, I don't think it's like the best cover ever, but for Jeff Lemire, I think this is an amazing cover. It's an amazing iteration, or I guess you say example of his version, a vision of Star-Faced Man. I love it. I love the bloody pen on the right. And this book's hard to find, man. I mean, there's a few listings on eBay for like, 60, 70 bucks, but I mean, I've never found this in the store, and I had to actually pre-order this book. But let's go into the prices here before we can get get our opinions and dialogue. So when around or right after this book came out, so this book was pre-ordered right after around Valentine's Day or maybe into January 2021. This book was selling raw for about 140 bucks all the way through the summer of 2021. Now this year, I should say, not now, but this year, there hasn't been any sales recently. I looked on eBay. I went on Cover Price. I went and looked. There hasn't been any sales in months of this book, but there are listings, buy it nows and bins, and there's no auctions. But you can have this book for between 30 and 45, $50. Looks like a low sale of $31 April of this year of a near mint minus copy. You have a $47 sale a week after St. Patrick's Day of this year for $47 there. And then you have all the way up to the end of March of $32, but just not a lot of sales out there. And the listings on eBay, there was 4, maybe 6 listings, and everyone was a bin or BO except one. One was not. One was firm on his price. It was $60 plus shipping. But I think even at $60 plus shipping is a good bargain for this book. But I mean, you can message the seller and say, hey, you can even show them this. You can show them Cover Price and say, hey, man, you show them the eBay sales, confirmed sales, and say, look, this book is selling for this. I want to work with you and support you, but I just can't pay $60, $70 for this book. Will you take 40, 45? I think that's a good buy. What do you think, Aaron?
Oh yeah, I definitely love this book. It reminds me of another Lemire cover that he did for, I think it was Ninjak and Valiant. It was also like on the notepad or notebook, where it's with the blue and red inks and everything too as well. I forget what issue, but I want to say it's an incentive as well. And then I think this is still like okay, I know people were hyped on Department of Truth issue 1, but I think it all did that by issue 2, like where it cuts in half, right? Half of amount of orders, and then like I would expect it to be kind of the same for issue 4, and then with the excitement that like since the writer's strike got announced that like, hey, this is over, then James Tynion announcing like oh, we're going to continue on the option for Department of Truth, and they're writing more episodes and stuff like that.
Wow. So we were talking backstage. You mentioned you're part of the Tiny Onion newsletter. Is that where you got that info?
I was looking for that again to see if it was there. I didn't see it there, and I can't find where I heard that from.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was looking through old Tiny Onion updates and stuff like that. But yeah,
Comics Embrace says, love this book. I think variance is okay. So he thinks the variance of each issue is where it's at for Department of Truth. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
So many good ones.
Issue 2, Baby Eater. Like, yeah,
I'll go as far as say I like the variance on this run more, or I wouldn't say more, but I'd say at least around the same as Something's Killing the Children.
Oh yeah,
so. But yeah, I think this is a good buy. And like I said, there's 4 to 6 listings that are, $60 to $70 or best offer. There's just one guy has it up for 60 when he's, like I said, I think this is a good buy. I wouldn't wait any longer because this book is hard to find. I don't think there's that many copies out there, but I could be wrong. But just based on the evidence online on the secondary market, there's just not a lot of copies. And it's a really cool book to have. I like just holding it in my hand and looking at it. And I wouldn't read this book, this variant. I would just get one of the open to order or regular covers. But so that's it.
Or the multiple later printings. So
yeah, or the multiple lating program. This is DOT, Department of Truth, number 4, 1 in 25. Jeff Lemire. Oh, there's also 2 first appearances, Danny Clay and Robbie. There's one more other. Danny Clay and Robbie also die in this issue, so they're a one-off. It's not really big characters or anything, but the other character, which I don't know the name, I believe he's a police officer, he's actually shows up in the next issue. So, all right, that's it. Thank you guys. Do
you want to show that off?
Aaron has something to tell you guys. Go ahead.
All right. So to help Richie get to 1,000 subscribers, Heineken Jones donated this book to me to give away on any YouTube channel I saw fit. I decided, hey, let's help Richie out. Let's get him to 1,000 subs. So this is the Soza Micah, Your Eyes Only. This was the San Diego Comic-Con art book. It is signed, and it's a CGC 98. So
what we're going to do is this. This is what I'm thinking we're going to do. If it's okay with Aaron and Heineken Jones, I still have to talk to Heineken, and I'm sure Aaron, if I don't talk to Heineken, I'm sure Aaron can.
Yeah, because he told me this is his letter to me. I always keep letters that people like when they send me stuff, or if they write in a little note. It says,
That's
give
awesome.
these away in however many giveaways you want to do. Also, feel free to keep whatever you want as well. So I thought about being greedy and holding it myself, but I was like, no, I'd rather send out the good karma, send it out to someone, like give it away. So I figured Richie and I could figure out how to give away. So I'm willing to hear your idea.
So I really like the way that the Stein Pack 7, I believe it was Stein Pack 7 giveaway went. So I was thinking we do the same thing. So we'll do a short, and I'm going to have Aaron do the short. I'm not going to do the short. It's going to be Aaron. Aaron's going to do the short. I'd like Heineken Jones to do the short, but if he doesn't want to or doesn't have time, I get it. So we're going to have Aaron do the short if Aaron's okay with it. If not, I'll do it. But I'd like Aaron to do the short, and we are going to give you guys a question. You're going to answer it, and we're going to have a cutoff, and then we're going to give it away on the House of Stein YouTube channel on the Hot 10, either this Friday or next Friday. We'll decide what it is, but probably not this Friday, probably the Friday after. That way we can give you guys time to answer the question, and we can have a nice, good chunk of period of time for you guys to watch the short and get your response on there, so you can get into the giveaway, and then we'll give it away on the Hot 10. How's that sound, Aaron?
Sounds good with me. Yeah, we'll figure out a quiz question after the and then I don't mind like recording a short clip about it, and then we'll post it to your YouTube.
Cool. That sounds good. I appreciate it, Aaron. Thank you. Like I said, you guys don't have to do this, but I am overwhelmed with excitement and joy that you guys are doing this. So thank you very, very much. From the bottom of my heart. Like I said, I owe you big time, and I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. I really, really appreciate you guys as well. We are Spec Media. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure to double click that notification bell to also don't miss any of the content forthwith. And if you're using or if you're shipping books with Postal Service, with UPS, FedEx, or DHL, whoever, make sure you're using Gemini Comic Supply mailers. Use the code POPCORN99. You'll get 10% off your next purchase. Thank you guys for watching. This was Buy to Dip number 7. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.